Hey guys, Martin Luders from ML Modules sent me some of his new commercial modules to check out, and I have to tell you they are so much fun and unique. I had to make a video and share with you their awesomeness. This video will be all about the Quantum Multiverse. If you are familiar with Quantum, the quantizer from ML Modules, then this module is like 8 of them in one single module, but with cool new features and the ability to save scales as presets and to tweak each voice differently. By the time I'm making this video, this module is still not released, so I cannot tell you how much it will cost, and there may be also some few small changes possible. But let's have a look shortly at all the different sections of Quantum Multiverse and then see and hear a few examples of how it works as a part of a patch. On the left we have our note selection where we can enter the notes of the scale we want. It's of course not limited to specific scales and you can enter up to 12 notes. All you have to do is click the note buttons and create your own customized scales. Next to it we have some CV inputs. We have the transpose CV input where we can transpose the scale, and I want to emphasize this, it's transposing the scale and not the pitch, so the pitch range stays the same but the scale doesn't. Then we have the spread knob and its dedicated CV input. The spread knob is a really interesting new feature and we will see it in action soon enough, and what it does, it spreads the output of each unconnected row so we can get really nice harmonized sequences. So if a row is not receiving any voltage per octave information, then it's working together with the input that comes before it and affected by the spread knob. Again, we will see it in action in a second. Then we have the note CV input that receives voltage, and with the help of the other three inputs on, off and toggle, we can enter and take out notes and by that change the scale and modulate the available notes. All the way down we have the reset input where we can reset the scale and start over. The next section is the quantizer section where we have 8 identical rows. Each of them has a CV input, 2 mode switches, CV output where we will get our notes, and gate and trigger outputs. The signal we will want to quantize goes in the CV input, and with the 2 mode switches we can set the way the signal will be quantized. On the left switch we have 3 options: closest, last and strict, and on the right switch we have 2 options: up or down. In closest mode, the incoming signal will be quantized to the closest available pitch, so if the voltage of the signal is equal to the note D, for example, it will quantize to E flat because this is the closest pitch in this case. If we had also F on, and the signal coming in was equal to F sharp, then the signal will be quantized according to the setting of the second switch, upwards or downwards, to G or to F. In last mode, the quantized pitch will change just when the incoming signal hits one of the available notes, which will result in slower change of pitch. In strict mode, the incoming signal will be always quantized to the next available pitch, according to what we set up on the second switch, again upwards or downwards. The quantized signal will come out from the out output of course, and we have also 2 more outputs, gate and trigger. The gate will open or go high always in strict and closest mode whenever a signal comes through, and in last mode the gate will go high just when the incoming signal hits a certain note, which results in lower chances for getting a gate signal. The trigger, however, will send a trigger each time the pitch changes. Then we have the memory section where we can save and load up to 8 different scales or note combinations. With the write button, we write a current scale, and with the read button, we load it up. We can also automate it by sending a trigger to the dedicated inputs. Another really cool feature is the ability to save all the different scales and note combinations we programmed into a file and use them in different projects. And now let's have a look at a few patch examples and see how it works inside a patch. So here we have the first patch. Here I've got the PWM clock from the XOR modules with a little bit of swing setup, sending a clock to the amazing Turing machine, and the Turing machine sends 2 different signals to the Quantum Multiverse. I have a scale set up and 4 different oscillators, so I have 3 resonators from audible instruments and an even VCO from Befaco. Let's have a look first at the first row of the Quantum Multiverse. I have the signal coming in from the Turing machine and it's set to closest mode and going upwards, which means that the incoming signal will be quantized to the closest available note, and if there are 2 close notes, it will quantize upwards. Then the output is going to the first voltage per octave input of the first resonator, which receives also a trigger from the Quantum Multiverse. The second row is set to strict mode and down, which means that the signal will always quantize to the next available note and always downwards in this case. The quantized signal is then being sent to the second resonator, which also receives a trigger. Now if you notice, there is nothing connected to the input of the second row, so it's actually normalized to the first input in this case, and by using the spread knob or the spread CV input even, we can create a nice harmonization to the first quantized signal. So this is also the first voice now, and by turning the spread knob we can control the spreading of the pitch. So to the left it's a lower pitch, somewhere here they are the same, and to the right it's higher pitch. The third row is then receiving another signal from the Turing machine, and it's set to last, which means that just when the incoming signal from the Turing machine matches a certain note, it will change the pitch to this note. It's sending then the quantized signal to the third resonator, which receives once again also a trigger. In the fourth row again, nothing is connected to the input, so it's normalized to the input above it, so to the fourth row, also in last mode, and the quantized signal is going to the voltage per octave input of the even VCO this time, and the same trigger from the third row, which goes through a mult, is triggering spank, which drives the even VCO. And again, because nothing is connected to the input of the fourth row, we get a nice harmonization of the third voice. And this is how it sounds like all together. Now I can also connect something to the transpose input, which will transpose again the scale and not the pitch. So I have here constants and a sequential switch, also from ML modules, and I will send through the sequential switch different voltages to transpose the scale. What we get is a nice sequence. And let's have a look at another example. So here we have the Sec3 from the fundamental modules, sending voltage through its first row to the first row of Quantum Multiverse. We also have Noxious, the polyphonic version, courtesy of Volt modules. Now we have also a sample and hold unit, sending voltage through a mult, both to the note input and the toggle input of Quantum Multiverse. And the voltage that flows to the note input goes also through Quantum in order to quantize it. Now what's going on here is that the sample and hold unit sends pitch information to Quantum Multiverse and telling it which note will be selected, and because it's quantized, it can, in this case, just select the notes within the C minor scale. But the sample and hold unit sends also a signal to the toggle input of Quantum Multiverse and toggles on and off the selected notes, so we get an ever-changing scale with a combination of the notes within the C minor scale. Now I have just the input of the first row connected, so all the other rows are normalized or pre-wired to it, and we can use the spread knob to harmonize the sequence. And all 3 rows send the quantized signal to the 3 different voices of Noxious. And it sounds like this. And again, with the spread knob I can control how the different voices harmonize each other. Now let's see how the memory section works. So here we have again 8 identical rows, and in each row we have the write button, the read button, and a dedicated input for each of them. So we can save up to 8 different scales and note combinations and load them up whenever we wish. All we have to do is program a scale or some notes, just like this. Click the write button. You can see the red light went on, which means that something has been saved to this row, and then we can change the notes. Click the second write button, and so on up to 8 different scales. And then when we click the read button of each row, we get the scale that was saved to this row. So here is the first one, this is the second, the third, the fourth, and so on. And of course we can also automate this by using a clock, for example, and a sequential switch. We send the clock through a mult, once to the input of the sequential switch, and once to its up input, for example, and all the outputs we connect to the different read inputs of all 8 rows. This way we can automate the changing of scales and create complex progressions and melodies. What's really nice about it is that we can also save this to a file and load it in a different patch. So we just right click on the module and select Save Bank or Load Bank. Okay, so of course there are more interesting ways you can use the Quantum Multiverse, and I really recommend checking this module out when it's available in the VCV-Rack store. Maybe it is already by the time you will watch this video, and I thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. If you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe and have a good one.